really wish it was less windy outside. I feel my most creative out here, but it's hard to feel creative when you're getting blasted by the wind. Now, luckily for me, I have an old barn full of mysterious materials, one of which is this coil of metal, which I realised would be a perfect base for my crown. You don't have to use this, you can use whatever you have lying around. I honestly don't think you even necessarily need anything like this. I just wanted to be certain that my crown would have strength and a core. I certainly think it made my life way easier having this, so. And this was me roughly guesstimating how big my head is. Apparently I think my head is massive.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
This whole project I was operating purely off of vibes, no measurements. I just kind of went for it.
Okay, so we've got some wire, but it's not very convincing crown, is it? It'd be a headband, but it's not giving spring crown. It's also not giving very nature. I mean, is it? It's a piece of wire. How do we fix that?
The answer, of course, is pussy willows. Yes, that's what I call them. It's what I grew up calling them. I just had to Google what else I could possibly call them. Apparently some people call them catkins. I promise I'm not trying to be inappropriate. It's just what they're called.
These are looking a lot more spring, a lot more nature. How do I...
Okay, so other than being abundant in springtime right now, these branches are really flexible and I know they will dry really well with the catkin still attached. Also, as my name is Willow, I just kind of feel really personally attached to this plant. I used to be teased with it a lot as a kid for obvious reasons, if you've heard what it's called. Then using some of my garden twine, I just tied my sticks to my wire. I use twine for two reasons. One, it's just what I had at home. And two, it matches the vibe. And this part was really simple. All it required was a knot on one end, firmly winding it all the way around, so a little bit of patience, and then tying it up again at the other end. Making this crown was really, really fun because it really didn't take me that long. I started after breakfast and I was done with the whole process before lunch. The lengthier part of the process is winding some twine around and going outside and collecting all of the branches and the lichen, which makes this a really fun project to make because most of it is just enjoying my day outside, collecting lichen, collecting sticks, and just going for a walk. At this point, I was just eyeballing to see whether I felt like it was enough. I didn't, so I decided to add another layer of catkins, just to give it a little more bulk for when I finally add the lichen. But I could have easily stopped at one, or I could have added even more. It really is just a personal taste thing. It really doesn't matter how much or little you add, just so much as there's like a little bit of filler. This part of the process is yours to make your own, and the process of attaching it is again the same, just knotting and winding around and knotting again. Then just finishing up by trimming off any excess twine and making sure it's pretty much the shape and size I want it to be. Now it's time for the star of the show, the lichen. Now, lichen is really, really cool, and the type of lichen I'm collecting here is known as reindeer moss, both because of its similarity to moss and also because it is an essential source of nutrients for deer during the winter. Now that other things are coming out and living for the deer to eat, I feel fine harvesting a couple of these for my own purposes. And remember, when it comes to harvesting, always take from spots of abundance and never take so much that it stops looking like a spot of abundance. Remember, we share our ecosystems with everyone. Take less than you think you need, because you can always come back for more. Is lichen a fungi or is it a plant? The answer is neither and both. It's a symbiosis of both fungi and algae. Anyway, back to crafting our crown. Here I am showing my needle and thread that I will be using for attaching my lichen to my crown. A needle isn't super necessary for this process, and you certainly don't need a tiny sharp one like I'm using. Again, it's just what I had on hand. I just needed something that I could use to help me guide my thread through my lichen. Twine was going to be too bulky for this process, and thread by itself without any kind of guide would have been way too twiddly and taken me way too long. Now, despite the addition of the dangerous needle and the thin thread, it is exactly the same as before. I started by tying a knot, and then I simply wound it through the lichen, round and round the crown till I got all the way around. Except this time I was being really, really careful to try and preserve the bushiness of this lichen. The fun thing about lichen is that there are over 20,000 known types. Because it is a symbiosis of fungi and algae, what lichen you get is dependent on what fungi and algae decide to live together. And the lichen I'm using is known as a fruticose lichen because it's of its bushy, three-dimensional shape. So pretty much any fruticose lichen you have growing in abundance near you will be perfect for your crown. I think it would be really cool if you managed to forage multiple types and colours of fruticose lichen to make a crown. That would be really spectacular. And because lichen gets most of its nutrients from the air, if well looked after, your lichen crown could very well stay living. And a living crown is pretty cool. Not to mention, because of this nutrient gaining from the air, they are great pollution indicators. Lots of healthy lichen is likely to indicate lots of healthy air. So next time you are on a nature walk, hopefully very soon because you watched this video and thought, oh my god, I really need to make this crown, it's a fun little challenge, not really a challenge, but just like a fun little activity to pay attention to all of the different kinds of lichen and how much there is. So, what do we think? I kind of love how it turned out. I guess the only thing left to try to do is to put it on. As to whether I wanted to give myself branch antlers attached to my crown, but I couldn't commit. I couldn't figure out the way to make it look best, so I compromised by just sticking them in my hair, by just sticking them in there, and I get the best of both worlds. Also, as someone who was told as a kid a lot, your hair looks like a bird's nest. Okay. But yeah. How about now? That really looks like a bird's nest. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe. See you!